Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Stacia. So since the last episode, I've been doing a little bit of work around the base. I did set up, I haven't fully set them up, but kind of in preparation for some stuff that we're going to be working on, some additional dissolution chambers, as you can see. I am planning on doing one per recipe. Now, of course, there's nothing limiting us to not doing multiple recipes through a single dissolution chamber, like one with latex, one with ether gas, and so on. But I've got a big building, I want to fill it, and so we're going with multiple dissolution chambers and kind of going to have like a wall of them. So I've kind of got all these that are running latex, this one here that's running ether gas, and then I'm going to continue on. They're cheap enough to make, and they're good kind of filler, while still being kind of useful to have multiple of them, in all honesty. So I have set up that, and I've done a little bit of enchanting. I kind of refined our latex system, so we do have a crafting machine here that takes and crafts our tiny dry rubber, and that goes up into an electrical furnace, which then comes out, and you can see we have lots of plastic built up here. We also have a lot of levels in our Tome of Peridia, so we'll be able to do a lot of enchanting. And I have been prepping some stuff. I've also battled a little bit with internet issues this weekend, so that's been something. But what we've got here is a number of things that we're going to be working on today. We're going to go ahead and grab out these two blazing ender cells for starters, and then we're going to go ahead and grab an electrolytic separator. We're going to grab a pressurized reaction chamber, a rotary condensator, a crusher, and we're going to get a sink also. And then over in this crafting table, we have a couple things crafted up. First up, a personal chest, and then that personal chest goes in to make a robot, and then that robot goes in to make ourselves a digital miner. So we're going to go ahead and grab that. Looks like we're completing a number of quests at the moment over here, so kind of knocking through. Oh, they want us to get 2 pressurized reaction chambers to get the HDPE sheets. Do we need 2? Oh yeah, we do need 2. Okay, whoops. For some reason I was thinking that we only need 1, but it's a little bit of a process for one thing that we're going to be making today. So give me just a second, let me get another one of these prepped up. And they're actually pretty straightforward to make, so this actually isn't, this isn't too bad. So let's go ahead, there's that. And there's a second one of those. Oops. Okay, so what we're going to do, first and foremost, let's come up, and I'm going to be moving this stuff manual that we're going to be using to make the substrate, the bio, whatever is it called? Substrate is, okay, biofuel. I was thinking that, but it sounded off. We're going to be just manually moving the stuff for now because I do have plans to plug all of this stuff up with AE2, and long term we're just going to be using our saplings from this little farm that's down here. We're going to be using those saplings to make our biofuel. But for now, we'll just be manually moving it until we get everything kind of plugged up. So what we're going to do, let's come out to just one of these little empty bays, I think. We'll set it up right in here, I think. So what we're going to do, let's start off with the electrolytic separator. And let's put it, say, just right in there, I think. Let's actually rotate this around, though. And leave plenty of space back here because we're going to have to run quite a few pipes and things. And let's go ahead, we're going to put a sink in right there and then just connect a fluid pipe over. And then we're just going to plug up our sink like that with the fluid pipe and then just let it start feeding in the water into the electrolytic separator. Now, when this thing runs, it's going to make oxygen and it's going to make hydrogen. Let's go ahead and plug up some power into this. I guess we're going to put the blazing cell right up on top like that, I think. And that's going to start making hydrogen. It's going to start making oxygen. Now, right now, we're just going to leave this as idle. Hydrogen will come out. It will be pumped out on this side. Now, I am going to need to get, if we take a look at mechanism, we are going to want to get a couple pipes. And that's going to be the one that handles gases. So, the pressurized tube, this right here. Honestly, a basic is going to be plenty for us, so I'm just going to go with basic. I don't foresee us needing much, because HDPE sheets, it's not like they're used for like an absolute ton of things. Yeah, here's my issues here. Okay, so there's some basic pressurized tubes, because we're going to need this to move our gases. And we're going to attach one right there. That's going to fill up with hydrogen. And that hydrogen then is going to be fed directly down to a pressurized reaction chamber. So we'll just have this setting, say, right there. And we can see that's going to start filling up with hydrogen. And then, let's see, I think the other one is going to be, yeah, here. So let's go ahead and set up another one on the other side. This is going to take the oxygen that's made. And so we'll just feed that straight down. And then next up, let's go ahead and just, probably the best way to do this, just bring this down. We're going to plug it into the back of the pressurized reaction chamber, or into the back of one of them. And this is going to be the one that takes the hydrogen, and we'll do that. So it's going to start getting some water. And then we're going to have to run power to this. We'll get to that in just a second. And actually, let me pull this up. In fact, and instead, let me have it be right there, because I think this will be a better way to run all of this. And then we'll just run our power cable up like that. So all this stuff's going to have power. And then what we're going to do is set up a crusher. Crusher is going to sit right here, and we're going to say that you output out the top, and we're going to say auto eject is on here. And then make sure that this is accepting items from the bottom, which it is. That's great. And so at this point, what we can do is we can grab, say, a stack of these oak saplings, and we can toss these into the crusher, and it's going to start running. We may add some speed upgrades into this just to kind of help it out a little bit. But once it gets done crushing that up, it's going to actually make us that biofuel. Just 2 per sapling. It's not the best, but 2 will make us a substrate and in turn make us an HDPE pellet. So if we let that go off, boom, there's 2 biofuel. It's going to immediately get sent up here, and then it's going to start making some of that substrate for us. There is our substrate, and we also got just a little bit of ethylene. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to set up our last little machine. I guess we're going to set it up like that, I suppose. And we're going to run over the ethylene that we create from this. And you can see it's gone into there. And we're going to feed it in to the rotary condensator. So it's going to send that ethylene in, and then it's going to turn that into liquid ethylene. And for this, I guess we're going to start moving, at this point, maybe moving over to the mechanism pipes. We're going to stick with basic steel because we don't really need the advanced ones at the moment. So basic mechanical pipe. And we're going to then pump out that liquid ethylene and just pump it over into the pressurized reaction chamber, because it can't feed in right there. At some point we are going to have to make a configurator from mechanism, but I actually don't think we have to have it for the stuff that we're going to be doing today. So we'll feed that over into that pressurized reaction chamber. And then what we can do is the substrate that's coming from here. I think I'm going to run out of sides though, because we got water going in, we have stuff coming out, stuff coming in, crusher feeding in, so I may actually need to move them over here. That's okay. We'll just run them over. Probably clean this up a little bit with maybe a combination of AE2 and XNet. XNet, of course, can handle all of this stuff, but we haven't started XNet yet, so which we really need to at some point, I guess. But when you're using like all 6 sides or something for these, yeah, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But let's go ahead. Let's set the config on this, the front, to be output auto eject. And you can see it traveling down through there and going into here. And then that substrate then is going to be able to turn into HDPE pellets. And it's going to make some oxygen as well. I mean, I could bring the rotary condensator down, I guess. Actually, let me go ahead and do that. So there we go. We can just run it down around like that, I think. And then what we'll do is we'll have the item output be here. And then if we need to run the auction out of this, I can pull it out the back. Really, there's no reason not to, I guess. So what we'll do is we'll just do this. And on the back side of the pressurized reaction chamber for gases, we're going to say output there. So it should be able to feed out the oxygen back into itself. It doesn't produce much. It does produce a very small amount, so then it can feed that back around for us. And then what we'll do is we'll say side config for items, output on the bottom, auto eject, and then we can just put that in there. And oh yeah, that was old. Used to be tiny dry rubber. There we go. And it'll start producing the HDPE pellets. Now we could, at this point, we could go ahead and run those through an enrichment chamber. Because if we take a look here at the HDPE sheets, we can do 3 to 1 in the enrichment chamber. We could do that. I'm probably not going to and let an AE2 handle that because maybe the HDPE rods will come up at some point. But these are used to make plastic. So plastic barriers, if I decide to use those, you know, it'll be kind of nice just to have these on hand for if we need that, basically. So I don't want to just completely process it to HDPE sheets without making sure that we do have access to just the regular HDPE pellets. So we've got HDPE pellets being made, and that's kind of in place for some future stuff that we're going to be doing. And then what I'll probably do is just set up maybe a chest over here. So for right now, we'll just put in a chest, dump a whole bunch of saplings into that. Make sure that this is set to input items on the bottom, and then we can just run just a basic item pipe or likewise up from there. And there we go. Now I can feed up the oak saplings, not at a really fast rate, but we're not running this at a really fast rate, so it doesn't really matter too much to us. It's faster than what we're producing. And that's going to give us some nice passive HDPE pellets to kind of allow that to start generating. Okay, so we have also got ourselves our digital miner and another ender sail. And what I would like to do, I'm just going to use one of these diamond chests. I'm getting stuff together for our other drawer controllers, or you know, I was getting some stuff together. So let's go ahead. Oh. There we go. My flight was like not working. Not a big deal because we are immune to fire at this point. But let's come on down here and we're going to set this up. Let's just put it in, say here. That's fine. Energy is going to go in the top. Oh no, it goes in the side. My bad. And then we're just going to put our diamond chest in right there, and we're going to set config. We're going to set this just to max 255, radius 32. Let's see, do we want to do silk touch? Yeah, let's do silk touch. Auto pull, no. Auto eject is on. And we're going to set the minimum to 1. Let's just do inverse mode for now, because we're going to have just a blacklist, and we're going to go ahead and start mining. Yeah, see, it's going to be getting a lot of netherrack, I imagine. So I think probably go ahead and just find ourselves some, because I don't have any of the ore on me, and what I'm really after is specifically, I'm going to be moving this digital miner around a little bit, but I think I want like specifically like gold, diamonds, that sort of thing. Of course, not from the nether, but from the overworld. And in the nether, I'd like to get mainly a lot of netherite. So let's go ahead and we'll just grab this. And the nice thing is, even though it's a 32 block range, it's going to do like a full, basically from bedrock all the way up to bedrock in this case. Let's go ahead, pop into our, let's reset it, pop into our filter. We're going to say new filter, item stack, put in ancient debris, and we're going to save that and turn off inverse mode. Another option, I guess, is we could say no netherite, but everything else, or no blackstone, that kind of stuff. But I think right now I want to say there's 36 ancient debris. And I think we have to move that chest, don't we? Yeah. So we'll just go ahead and move that to here. There we go. And we will be able, we'll be able to set up like an ender chest to this. But this way we can start mining up ancient debris. So if we just want to focus on ancient debris or something like that, we can do that. Another thing we can do, let me stop this and reset. Go into our config. Let's go forge ores. Save. And you can see it's going to tag everything that's a forge ore, which includes ancient debris. Should include quartz and stuff like that. This is probably the thing that we're going to run the most unless we're after a specific thing. But if we start it up, you can see there's 6,746 things within 32 blocks all the way from bedrock to bedrock that is going to be classified as forge ores. So if you take a look here, we're getting solium, we'll be getting ancient debris, we'll be getting inferium, prosperity, crimson ore, ancient debris, all that stuff. And this is something where we can kind of just leave it running for a while. So we will change this over to an ender chest before too long. But my goal is kind of, I think, instead of having all of our ores put into a specific place that handles all of our processing, because we are going to be processing things very differently from one thing to another. We're going to be using some auto miners. We're going to be using, like with fortune picks, we're going to be using in the case of like ancient debris, we're going to be using enrichment chambers. I think that's how we're going to process, right? I believe that's how I want to process it, because enrichment chambers just straight up 2 to 1. Most of these other things, aside from I guess induction smelter, which enrichment chamber is a lot cheaper. I don't know, induction smelter maybe down the road, because it does give that chance for some rich slag, which is good, but it'll be a little bit, I think, before we push into that. It's actually not that bad though, but we'll be processing a lot of different ways, so I think that's going to be the best way for us to handle that. Now let me go ahead and pop on home real quick, and I'm going to go ahead, I think, and get a couple ender chests. That's going to be our ore line. I think we'll probably just use these, our excavator line, which is gray. So there's a couple of those. I'm going to set this right here for right now. Go ahead and put that in. Put that in. Then we'll just grab that. And then let's do /back. And I'm going to go ahead and break this chest off and just put in our ender chest line there. Another gold. It's going to be a good source of gold too. What's the best way? Oh, makes 1. Blast it. Crusher makes 2. Perfect. I like that. Of course, mechanism will be able to get more output, but I don't know if we're going to rush into that or anything. Yeah, we'll probably just run it through the crusher. That gets us 2. That's going to give me a good source of gold, to be honest. So really, I don't even have to run this in the overworld at the moment. I don't think, because I think that's going to be plenty of gold coming in for us. And then let's go ahead. Let's do F9. Okay, I'm right on the border here. What I can do is just put this over on this side. That's going to supply it with power. And then we can put the chunk loader there on top of it. That's going to keep this chunk loaded, and the digital miner should load its own chunks, I believe. But let's check it. So we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on it. So it's 11, 13, 12, 13. Yeah, there's nether quartz. It may just be mining from the chunk that it's in, but I want to say that the digital miner does load its own chunks. So, and some of these I may process with like really high fortune picks in like an auto miner, like nether quartz and stuff like that. We'll see. But that way we can start getting materials in without me having to manually go in and mine them up. because I'm starting to find myself running out of gold. I mean, I do have this from a bit of mining, but I go through it pretty quick, it seems like. Now, the last thing I want to do this episode is start looking towards night sky. Now, if we throw in iron, like into this, it's going to go in here. It's going to start processing. It takes 700,000 Fe. It doesn't take a huge amount of time. It's fairly easy to craft. Just toss a bit of that in there. But if we take a look at the night sky stuff, you could see there's a number of different processes. I think all of these take just water and then a few materials. Most of them aren't all that bad, but you will notice they all take matter balls before we can actually start making night sky, like the charged night sky, that is. And then the night sky, like for example the night sky redstone or the night sky iron and so on. But to get matter balls, of course, we're going to have to go with a matter condenser from AE2. Now this is just quartz dust, iron, and some purple sheet metal. So let's get that real quick. So there's our purple sheet metal, and then we'll go ahead and get our matter condenser. So there's that, and we're also going to need a couple other things. First up, a 1K storage part. Well, actually, and they give us a 1K here in the quest, so we're going to go ahead just kind of push through these quests so that we can get the free 1K. Let's see, Certus quartz in a blood altar will get us the charged Certus. Let me just toss that in there. Oh, can you not process that? You certainly cannot. Okay, well that's fine. I can just do this. So we'll just toss that in there. There we go. There's some charged Certus. So quest complete, and we're going to get 4 more charged Certus. Or 5 more? How do we get 6? I don't know. And then Fluix, you can make it in the metallurgic infuser with this method right here with 160 redstone. Now I don't know if this method is disabled. I'm going to try it and see, because if it's not, the metallurgic infuser is kind of like, I guess, a lazy way to make it, but it's very easy to automate without that. Okay, yeah, it looks like it does require the metallurgic infuser to make the Fluix dust. So it is, they want us to get 16 of them. Wow, really? 160 redstone, but we can use the enriched redstone, so that's the route that we're going to take for that. But I'm going to need 16 charged Certus, though. I'll probably set up some semi-automation, I think, for the blood altar, just basically like an input chest and an output chest with a filter, because since we're going to be making a lot of this in due time, once we start into AE2 proper, we're going to be needing quite a bit of this stuff, I think. So I think some semi-automation for it will be quite useful. But we'll go ahead and start infusing ourselves some of this charged Certus real quick. And there's our very first Fluix crystals. Okay, but there's all of our Fluix. So we'll grab that. There we go. Okay, and we don't need the energy acceptor. So, but there's the matter condenser, and we're going to get our 1K ME storage component. And then what we can do is we can just pop down and as an example, if we set this up and we put the 1K ME storage component in there and we throw in like cobblestone, you could see there's 1 out of 8,192 in that at the moment. Let's go ahead and just grab that. And what we're going to do for right now, I think, let's lift this up, or let's actually just remove this one for the time being. And let me have this stuff, because we're backed up on sand at the moment. We've really just been running it for this, just to get some free XP, and I really don't need the free XP at the moment. So we're just going to let that kind of stop up. And what we're going to do then is we're going to say this is the west side, and we will have something a little bit more dedicated to this. But for now, this is my best item output, like item system that we've got at the moment. And so we're just going to have this feeding into a matter condenser with the 1K and it'll start building up matter balls for us this way. And that way we can go ahead and start creating some of those just kind of passively, so we can start delving into night sky after this is ran for a little bit. I think sand's going to be a pretty good method for it starting out, doing this little method here. I do believe. So, a couple other options. One that I find kind of just overly cheesy is using chisel and bits, the chisel fluid tank, and just pumping water in, or any kind of chiseled block, because you get, what is it, like 8,192 bits per block. So you can get matter balls excessively fast that way as well, but personally I'm not a big fan of that method. Basically anything where you have a lot of items that you want to get rid of, matter condenser is a great solution for that. And we'll go ahead, and I'm not going to set up anything too big because this is probably going to get moved. Probably get moved in due time. We're going to need a lot of these. Probably go with something a little bit faster long term. Honestly, probably one thing I would like to go with is the igneous extruder, which is actually pretty cheap. So I may play around with the idea of setting up a little area for that. We might get that set up, maybe even come next episode. There's some night sky iron, but we're going to start needing matter balls a lot, so I'd like to at least get something in place for them. And so for right now, what we'll do is we'll just put a chest in, say right there, because right now I'm just voiding all this sand basically. And we'll go ahead and say that you can extract, and we're going to click through, by the way, not because we don't want it to void. You can click through and you can select like singularities and stuff. We do need to click and set matter balls. So every 256 energy that we get in this, it's going to make a matter ball. And you can see that we did make one right there. So yeah, and then this should, pretty quickly, it should build up a fair amount of matter balls for us. So that should be good. And I may end up upgrading this, changing over to a chest, but I think for right now this will be good, and probably just let it run until it fills out this chest, and then retire it for a little while, and then probably move it. We might go with an igneous extruder setup. I'll have to see what we'll need to make that really fast. But those can produce a lot of materials in a very short period of time, so that might be the method that we go for, because I think they'll be cheaper to set up than like material stonework factories or something like that. I mean, I guess a bunch of sand setups would work too, but not really performance friendly, to say the least. And let's take a look over here. Yeah, we're starting to get a fair amount of stuff built up in here. Lots of nether quartz. There's some crimson iron. At least so far it is mining without issue, so that's good. But yeah, so we're going to end out this episode here, because I know it's about wrapping up point. Next episode, when we come back, we are probably going to make some charged night sky stuff, and we are going to, I think, continue some mechanism push. I'm going to get a little bit of prep work done. The mechanism stuff's not really all that expensive within this pack. Prepping up your steel casings ahead of time, super helpful, because that's the most expensive part, I think, but they go pretty far. But yeah, next episode we are probably going to start turning our attention over towards maybe tritium, I think. Should be our next order of business, and then probably move on from there into some other stuff. So I think that might be what we do next episode, but we'll see. We shall see. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, to stay updated with when new videos come out. And I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys then.